Welcome to Why Your Business is Invisible Online, the podcast that connects businesses online with the people they want to serve. Joining me are my two co-hosts, and here they are.
I'm Jim Filatico. When I'm not helping my clients grow their businesses online, you can find me traveling with friends and family.
Hi, I'm Kelly Biggs, and I'm the AT alien of the group. I love hanging with friends and family, and when I'm not doing that, you can find me on Peloton. I've clocked over 2,000 rides so far.
And I'm your host, John Manatas from Oakville, Ontario, Canada, with my guitar in hand, my Wi-Fi on life support, but always in tune with my clients. One of the things I was thinking about while you were talking, while both you guys were talking, was now that we've been in this business for a while, and we have a sense for how to build the ideal website that's going to allow us to do our job better once the website is finally built. So things like SEO, search engine optimization. How do you spot, like whoever the client is working with, how do you spot the right type of digital marketer? So what kind of things should clients be looking for in terms of the questions they get asked about, before they even start their website? There are certain kinds of questions that we know now are the critical ones that are going to make their website great 3 years from now, and consistently, sustainably great. What do we look for in a digital marketer? What kind of questions should they be asking before they get down to business and actually build the website? I think it's an introspective question. I thought it'd be important to delve into that a little bit and help our audience understand. There are people that just want to get to tools and get to delivering leads for you like tomorrow, and they might talk about pay-per-click right away. I think we're a little different in the way we approach and the types of questions we talk about. Part of it is what you just described, Kelly. You talked about the customer journey, understanding targeting, understanding context. If you don't have that understanding, good luck building a website that's going to last and serve you well in the long term. But are there other things that you guys look for now in a digital marketer? Without giving away too many of your secrets, because you guys are great at what you do. But I think we've learned a lot in the last while.
I think one of the things I've noticed, I was going to say more recently, but I think we're just starting to talk to more and more people, is that I find that when you're talking with somebody, when you first start to talk with somebody, you can tell either when you look at their current website or when they start asking questions about pricing and about numbers of pages and those kind of things, that they've either bought into an attorney templated website or an accounting templated website or something, and they lean into that specialty, and sometimes that can be very helpful because it gets them part of the way down their journey. But at the same time, most of the time, what I've seen, and when I've kind of done deep dives, and I've seen this quite a bit with attorneys, is that their websites look very, very similar. They have a lot of the same content because that's what sells the big pie of attorneys, as opposed to finding out, like we just said, who are your target clients? What brings you joy in the day? Who do you want to deal with? Who's most profitable for you? What things that make you different than the next guy? And then talk about those things on the website and really trump that up, bring that up, and really make it important versus others. And so while templated websites may be less expensive, as people try to say, I think that's the biggest thing, is that what we're finding is you have a unique business for a reason. And so why not take advantage of that and make you stand out versus the rest? And that's, we talk about searching. If you're just like the other guy and he has one more review than you and everything else is the same, you're not going to be shown.
Exactly.
Right. So you have to figure out a way to, and that's what we try to do, is we try to point somebody in the right direction of their perfect customer, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
And you can't be everything to everybody. And, my wine shop, they prefer to have somebody come in and have a glass of wine.
Mhm.
But don't get me wrong, they've got hundreds of bottles of wine that they sell day in, day out, and they have a great display and a great mix. But the people behind the bar love to sit and chat, and they have all these things that keep you sitting there, and so they would prefer that. So that's kind of what they really kind of lean into. And by the way, if you want to buy some wine, that's great too, right? But that's what they enjoy. They enjoy that camaraderie and the friendship. I mean, I love going to visit, just to chat with them. So that's a thing that I think we try to do, is we take a step back. What's important to the client? What's important to their business? What makes them profitable? What makes them enjoy going to work every day? And then building that into their whole online presence, as opposed to, oh yeah, I've got a 5-page website that, I can change the color on, and I need 5 pictures, and, and what's your phone number? And it's this price.
Yeah.
That's what differentiates us. We're doing more than just creating a website for somebody then.
Yeah, I love what you said there about stepping back. I think we do that well, and I think we've learned that over time, that you have to step back and sort of look at the end point, and then look at all the elements of how the customer interacts with that client before you even start with the nuts and bolts of the website. Sorry, Kelly, I interrupted you. Go for it.
Yeah, no. So you asked what I think is an important question, especially since you've talked twice about having come to somebody that had dealt with a bad player in our industry. So as you guys were talking, I kind of made a quick, I'm gonna call it the hit list of things. Maybe
that's great. The hit list. I like that.
That should keep you running. If you're talking to, and don't talk to a digital marketer if they tell you they can do all the things, I can do this, I can do that. I mean, we are a full service digital marketing agency, but there are things that we do way better than others, and we're going to be honest about that. So that's number one. So if they say they can do all the things, I would definitely be leery. If they're quick to give you a price before they've scoped anything out, if they're quick to give you a price, because I guarantee you, either it's going to be a low quality, whatever the service is. And I've seen some, so I'll give you a perfect example. Somebody asked me one time what my price on SEO was. And so I gave it to them after, depends on, told them all the variables that we would need to get to. And then they were like, oh, well, I have a provider that said that they could get me that for $400. I was like, if they can do all the things that I'm doing for you for $400, you should absolutely work with them if they can. And then
you really knew. You in your mind, you knew if they go with that person, they're going to be hurting later on.
Exactly. Well, when they will come to find out, then they came back to me and they said, hey, I forgot to ask you, like, how many hours are you going to get me? How many hours does that give you if I do SEO with you? And I was like, I don't have an hourly rate. It's when we get the job done. And that's the difference. So you just got to know what you're comparing to. So again, I would say they're quick to give you the lowest price.
Great point.
They make promises off the gate. So if I would never work with a digital marketing agency that says, I can get you to the first page of Google by whatever that answer is, fill in the blank. If they're making promises, they just can't do it. Now they should be able to give you a range, right? So, and this is from a standpoint of paid ads, for instance. You can say that, listen, we can do competitive research, and we can say, hey, with a budget of $1,500, you can expect to receive, and it depends on what the cost per click for the keywords that you're getting to. For that range, you should expect to see this many impressions, this many clicks, this many leads. But if somebody tells you you're going to get X amount, anything definitive, I would run away.
Yes.
Fast.
That's agree. In fact,
Run away fast.
the two rescue clients I mentioned the other day, that's exactly what happened to them. They were given promises and they weren't delivered on. And so the client was upset. Really poorly managed expectations there. Yeah. So
Right.
I agree.
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
I also, let's see what else is on my hit list here. If they aren't curious about your business. So Jim, you kind of alluded to this, like the people who do the templated lawyers or the templated accountants.
Yeah.
And then they like sometimes you're only getting a substance, like just a very high level. And I'm going to add to that. And they're not meeting with you to talk through your results. You know, if that's part of what you're doing every month. I have a plan to meet with my clients every month. Some of them don't want to talk to me, but I still try to, because they're busy, right?
They're busy,
and as long as, but you should still, after a certain period of time, I'm like, hey, we gotta talk. Like, come on, we gotta talk.
Yeah.
Just so that you understand what I'm doing. But if they're not willing to meet with you or tell you how often you're going to meet to look at your results, or Google Analytics is not a part of their offering, or some type of a level. Google Analytics can get cumbersome, but how are you going to report your results to me?
100%.
We should agree upon that. They're not talking to you about your brand. They're not talking to you about your buyer persona. And another one is they won't give you any examples of their work.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah.
And it does, to me, it does. So one of the hiccups that I run into all the time is that there are some people who are like, have you worked with anybody specifically like me? No, because nobody's specifically like you. You have to get to the point where you're like, is this business close enough to mine that I feel like that digital marketer is going to be competent enough to serve me? Because, and we talked about this before, because I never want to get to the point that if I'm doing SEO for a certain client, I don't want to compete with myself. Right. So if all I do is specialize in accountants in Atlanta, Georgia, how many clients can I have?
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my list. I don't know if y'all have a hit list, but that's what I come up with.
No, that's a good list. I mean, I'll just make a few comments because I tend to do it with everybody because I enjoy doing it, but I find the clients appreciate that when I approach them with whatever it is they want in the end. Sometimes it's a website. Sometimes it's I just want to be found. I want SEO and so forth. They come in with some preconceived notion because they've talked to a bunch of people. If the person doesn't take the time, I'm not saying take hours on end, but take some time. And this is where I think Jim was going with, you know, how different are they in terms of my client now has told me about themselves, their business, what they want to do, what their vision is, and so forth. And I had this one client who she's a designer for homes, but she had a very different strategic sort of element to it that she added to it. Everything she designs, she adds a health and wellness component to the design. Like if she's going to add lighting, she'll add lighting that improves your health. If she's going to add a certain color or color patterns, she'll again think about the health element.
Like calming or whatever.
Yeah, calming something. Yeah, something that'll. It was interesting because where I'm going with this is that if you don't take the time to do some research on the competitors in her space to understand what they're pushing, then when I go back to her, I can't have the conversation to say, I love your idea about combining home design elements with a health component, because guess what? None of your competitors are doing that. They're selling good home design. They have all their before and after photos on their website, but then everybody does. So how are you going to be different? And you're new to the game. Those guys, your competitors are all established. They've been there 10, 15 years. You're just trying to break through, but at least you have an idea that none of them are talking about. And it's smart, especially now with everybody being much more concerned about their health and so forth. And I think, I think the three of us only have respect for people out there who do take the time to look at what are the competitors in her landscape or his landscape doing right now before I even start thinking about the pages of their website. Take the time and come back to your client with a good and reasonable understanding, because we know how much time it takes to do proper competitive analysis. We don't have that time. It's going to take, well, they'll hire you for that afterwards. But prior to even having that first conversation, I think it's important to just look at the differentiators, because we know, I think more than anything nowadays, brand is everything. And
I was going to say brand. Brand is interesting. Like with the brand kit, you could do some more. Listen, I was just, and this is separate from the website, but maybe this is something we can talk about later. But one of the things we're keenly focused on is also like retention. Like you finding people, but then, how do you make sure that the people that you found, because not everybody's ready to buy right away.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody's ready to buy right away. So on your website, there had better be a place for you to share some value, do some type of a value exchange and get their email addresses so you can stay top of mind and either retain your current clients, especially if you're in a e-commerce type of a situation, and remind them and stay top of mind. But my point being is that, in some e-commerce platforms, and specifically the one I'm talking about right now, is constant contact. Mm-hmm. Constant contact, you can put in your brand kit to constant contact. Mm-hmm. Now you can do it. This is how AI is changing the game of what we're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Now you can even go in and pull it from, you give it your URL, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And the URL then pulls down your logo, pulls down your colors, pulls down all of this. Now, if
fonts and everything,
fonts, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you haven't bothered, mm-hmm. or the person that you're talking to hasn't even asked you, do you have a brand kit? And every time you post about your stuff, it's a different font, it's a different color, it's a different hex, mm-hmm. then you can't even take advantage of some of these tools. And so the branding is the foundation, honestly, one of the foundations for even before you can even start so I would say if you're talking to somebody who's building your website, mm-hmm. and they didn't ask you if you had a brand kit.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're not bringing brand into the conversation, move on. It's so critical to everything we do. And going forward, even more critical because of AI. AI is going to do so much for us that the only thing left is going to be like people who are
you
really
have to differentiate.
Yeah, exactly. What makes your brand different than the other 10 competitors in your space? Brand. And okay, what's your story? So a lot of people don't talk about brand. They just say, here are the three things I do: PPC, SEO, email marketing. Oh, what else do you need? Those are good enough. And they dive right into it in the first 10 seconds. And then you're right. Then they go straight to the price, and brand doesn't even get brought up. So run right away if you get one of those.
The people that I run into competitive wise, many times it's just a price thing that they're selling a certain, and you come in after the fact. And Bark is a great example of getting Bark leads. When you get Bark leads.
Mm-hmm. What's a Bark lead?
A Bark lead is you pay for leads of people that are actively looking for your type of service. Mm-hmm. So it's a platform where someone says, I need a website. I have a budget of, and then there's always jokes within that, $1 or no money. But anyway, it'll say a budget and what they're trying to do. And then you call, you click a button, and therefore it costs you credits. And then you call the person. And if you don't call in the first 30 seconds, most likely you're third, fourth, or fifth on the list that have called. But they supposedly have high intent because they've put this out there.
Mm-hmm. And so like an Angie's List of sort for digital.
Exactly. But it's for everything. It's for accountants. It's for house cleanings, whatever. But it just seems like in our space, half of them never, more than half, 80% of them never return the call or answer the call. Mm-hmm. But when they do, because they said searching for a website, the first question they're going to ask is how much. And it's like, okay, that's not the type of customer I want. They don't care about the value, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the big thing. And that's you kind of get that when that's the type of leads you've gone after. And when you're first starting out, that's what you do. You know what I mean? You want leads. But as you start to get more referrals, you start to get more traction on your website and social media and those kind of things. You don't have to rely on them as much. But that's the biggest thing is when people are like SEO specialists or some sort of specialists, and they promise all these things that they can't do, then it gives us a bad name. And then we have to fight that much harder to convince somebody that, we're looking out for you. And I think, again, going all the way back to listening and finding out more about their business and their goals and those kind of things, it does help us separate that out. And it kind of proves it without having to come straight out and saying, I'm not just selling you a tool.
That's right.
That, that might not be the right tool. Just because someone checked a box that says I need SEO, that might not be the case.
Thank you for tuning in to Why Your Business is Invisible Online. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do us a favor and subscribe and follow us on Spotify and Apple. Be sure to share it with other business owners who might find it helpful. If you want to dig deeper, contact us at ruinvisibleonline.com. That's capital letter R, capital letter U, followed by invisibleonline.com. Or message us on our LinkedIn business profile with the same title, Are You Invisible Online? The information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and may or may not reflect the official policy or position of WSI Corporate. Always consult a qualified digital marketing expert before making significant changes to your online strategy. Until next time, keep connecting with the people who matter most to your business and join us for our next episode.